foursome.
The extra. It should be whatever the extra. I got the account.
Well, that's what I put.
Yeah, the trailers.
Maybe that's me putting it in.
First,
Yes, well, you get 4 special ed teachers. This number, we got football. Shoot, we got this if you want to. I'm going to later,
seems visible.
My father's done fish.
I'm
wondering if I should move one way.
Call to order with the pledge of allegiance to this flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Haley. Here. Tony.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
Debbie.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
And a big welcome to Aubrey. Here. Thank you. We're very excited to have Aubrey Searway as our new student representative, so thank you so much for joining us. Next up is agenda adjustments. Do we have microphones? I don't think we do. Okay. Next up, agenda adjustments. I wanted to make an adjustment to move new business B5 up to old business B7, because that's actually the second reading of that BCA. Did I have any other agenda adjustments?
I would like to add Deputy Boyd to speak to us under item 6.3. Just before public comments.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do I have a motion for those agenda adjustments?
I move to adjust as requested.
Seconded.
Any comments?
It was my understanding that policy BCA was supposed to go back to the policy committee for discussion. That wasn't on the agenda. So to move it to being a second reading, it didn't allow discussion or input at the meeting.
We've had it on there 2 or 3 other times, so in my mind it was the second reading.
Last month was going to be the second reading. and been discussed at policy committee. That's why we sent back the policy for their second. So this wouldn't be our first look at it, it would be our second reading of it.
Any abstentions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from August 5th, 2024. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I do have one. Under personnel, item 8B2 voting, it was for the high school employees. It showed voting for as 3 and abstaining 2, and it should be voting for 5, abstaining 0. Doesn't change the outcome or anything like that, just a clerical. There were 4 voting in the positive.
Any other adjustments? Any abstentions?
No.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, the public comments from last meeting. I want to go back 2 meetings. It was actually July and August, and I believe Mr. Ford had some questions, and as you've received in your FOA, and as we've communicated several times, on April 1st, there was questions about us accepting a resignation. We accepted it in public, and as a reminder, the chair was authorized to enter into a resignation agreement based upon the terms discussed in executive session. And that was voted and approved, and those minutes were voted and approved the next meeting. So just as a reminder, again, of that, and we'll move on from that topic. And also thank you to Mr. Newell for your comments that we had. I didn't see a specific question that was asked of the August meeting, and if there was, we'd be happy to address it. Were there any other committee acknowledgements that people wanted to do? Brian?
So thank you.
Haley?
I do have a few. I wanted to say the cookout was wonderful for the freshmen. I was really impressed with the Booster Club. It looks great down there. I thought it was a really beautiful weather and just an overall great experience. Student ambassadors, I just wanted to also say what a wonderful job they've done to be welcoming at all of the events. Very impressive with that. Smooth opening for all the schools. I feel like everybody's really, the principals are all giving good feedback, so that is a testament to what great leadership you guys are doing. I want to say thanks to IT for working on all of the cameras. That makes all the schools safer, and I like to see that progress. I enjoyed the shout outs for pads. I thought that was a cool addition, so thank you for doing that. Let's see. Oh, super excited for middle school grading system. So thank you for addressing that. And love reading through the vision of the high school. I thought that was fantastic.
Tony?
Yeah, I've been checking out the track, and it was quite a process. The gentleman did a great job. Brian's been watching it every single hour, and I just check on it once a day. But it's pretty impressive how they do that.
Debbie?
I'm all set. Thank you, though.
David?
I'm all set for tonight, thank you.
Michael?
So, like Ms. Keiser said, we had our freshman back to school night and freshman orientation. That went great good group of kids. They learned their lockers super fast. It was awesome. We had our golf tournament, which raised just under $20,000 for school funds. So that went all well. And we have fall sports starting up.
So everything's all set for our freshman block party, which will be held tomorrow during intervention here at the high school. We have our homecoming week, which is the week of the 23rd, and we have our homecoming dance to 28th. We have some new things like we have a hawk head game and we have door decorating. This weekend, Junior ROTC will assist with 3 Coles Land Transportation Museum events for the community. And the cast list for the fall musical just came out. We're doing Rock of Ages.
Wow. Thank you, guys. Next. Okay, next we'd like to welcome Deputy.
Just briefly, I just wanted to go over, this past spring, we had assessments done on all 3 school buildings as well as central office. Homeland Security came up, they gave us some recommendations, they did give us reports. Those reports are FOIA protected, they can't be FOIA. They give us that information, and we do with that information what we need to do. Some of the things they recommended, we have started doing. Upgrades on all the cameras in all of the schools, some signage outside of the schools, and we'll be looking at some of the recommendations to continue. Any questions?
Thank you for all your hard work on that.
You're welcome.
Next, we'd like to welcome public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on agenda items, contribute info that may be of interest to the school committee, or ask clarifying questions. Please wait to be recognized and identify yourself before speaking. This is not the time to register complaints or promote a personal agenda. Please remember that you may not identify any person by name or job function. We'd like to welcome Barbara Ford.
Barbara Ford, Hermon. I wanted to just point something out on JIE, the pregnant student policy, and specifically because I don't think it's intentional, but on the federal level, they talk more broadly to include fathers. And here you're saying pregnant students. And I think we need to be cautious, because if we're saying pregnant, we're excluding the fathers of these children because they can't be pregnant. And I think we need to be careful that we include dads as a parent who had a teen father. I think, one of the things I was very fortunate when I came to Hermon and talked with the guidance counselor, which did a great job of helping, but the services weren't the same for a teen dad as they were for a teen mom. And particularly if the dad is being kind of circumvented by the mom, he may not have the same opportunities to have access to his child or the services. So we want to be careful that we're giving him the same access to have the same services through the school system. And I want to just kind of have us think more broadly that dads may need time off. For my son at 17, he had 50-50 custody of a newborn baby. So I think we need to think of that also. As I run a residential shelter for women in crisis pregnancy, oftentimes women will leave the father's name off a birth certificate. And so that's a double-edged sword for men that they really get circumvented. So as a school system, I think we really want to make sure that we don't do that to men, that we are including dads in that JIE.
Thank you. Next up, Ed Ford.
For Hermon, thank you for acknowledging the discussion about the prior superintendent's dismissal, and I'll just let you know I haven't received any FOIA documents yet, so that issue has not been completed. I'm just going to thank Drummond Woodson for this month's document dump. Not very helpful at all. How does policy change in GCSB and FOIA use of social media fit into Maine's new law? Maine legislature just passed the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act, brand new law, even though they had one in place prior. This new legislation improved upon an existing bill and is a welcome tool to defeat meritless defamation, privacy, and other lawsuits, chilling the exercise of First Amendment rights in Maine. The U.S. Constitution guarantees your right to free speech. The right doesn't go away when you go online. This policy change is in serious need of legal review. Legislating speech on a person's private social media account, as well as every individual comment on Facebook. I'm surprised the school board didn't see an issue with this amendment that came into it. I'm also not sure, all kinds of those documents in there are from Title IX. I'm not sure why this board would even attempt to change any of those policies. Supreme Court injunction on Title IX stated, and all 9 justices concurred that the state's preliminary injunctions should remain in place. And this covers many of the policies here tonight. So I'm not sure how you're ever going to come to a decision on those. Every major newspaper in Maine last year, as well as louder course this year, followed this headline. Maine schools say they're facing a perfect storm of expenses that are pushing up school budgets. I would like to request that this school board immediately seek out and convene a special community budget committee to work with this school board as they prepare the 25-26 school budget. The free government money is gone. Maine education dollar amounts from the state are currently unknown. And Hermon schools are facing one major variable. Hermon school funding formula, property values. The higher the property value, given in the school district, the less state funding that community receives. So major housing spikes like we've seen in Hermon can trigger a reduction in state aid. That piece gives the impression that towns are able to raise more money to support education, not less. Inflation and lower school enrollment will further constrain these budgets. In addition, the school board is currently down one member, and the member who steps in on November will be wholly unprepared to jump into a $20 million budget on day one. The Maine State Legislature allows for these special committees to be created for Hermon's upcoming school budget, and I would support community members assisting the school board on this upcoming school budget. Last item, for policy BCA, Code of Ethics, it really technically it's only had one reading, and last month I came up and asked, they said it was going back to the committee, so to me that's just one time. I know your view is different, but I think that was one time. And so this ethics is considered, Code of Ethics is considered a branch of philosophy. There's no single moral principle or judgment that's generally accepted. The original study in ethics were the 10 Commandments, and now we struggle to put these in our nation's courtrooms and public squares. But men and women here are going to assign morals and hold people accountable. And lastly on this policy, recording in public property is allowed in state statutes. And this attempt only creates distrust, more distrust, not less. Thank you for your time.
Next up, Greg Newell.
Greg Newell, Hermon. School committee members. This school committee is an all-out mission to stop free speech by parents and citizens' involvement in the school department. Recent changes include parents and citizens are no longer allowed to speak at any of the 5 subcommittee meetings. Meetings are now moved to different buildings and times. Meetings are being held early in the afternoon, knowing most parents are unable to attend. Despite it being voted on by the committee, you're still not recording them or taking minutes. The superintendent has made disparaging remarks about parents in the school committee packets that just want to be involved or have answers. Regular meetings video audio still has not gone better after years of complaints from parents and town citizens. It's actually gotten worse. The school department tried to shut down all comment capabilities on social media platforms, but had a backpedal on it after one board member advocated for parents to uphold the law. Thank you, Ms. Kieser. Meetings were moved for teachers, but when I was heading to one, I heard a teacher say the following: I have better things to do than attend that policy discussion. And guess what? Not one school department teacher showed up for it. I bet it won't be long before this meeting will only have one opportunity for public comment and time will be reduced. Maine School Board Association Handbook states, your board must see to it that there are adequate and direct means for keeping the local citizens informed, for keeping it informed, and for keeping itself informed about the wishes of the public. These communication techniques should be both formal, public hearings, newsletters, official school district publications, and informal. It's your elected duty to uphold the law, read these manuals for guidance, and yet it's clear you haven't. It'd probably be freeing for you just to be honest with us for once and state that you don't want any input from the community. Your communistic agenda is clear. I would like to end with a quote from President Harry S. Truman. Once a government, you all, is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasing repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens, i.e. the town, and the country, where everyone lives in fear. And I bet you people are living in fear of all. Freedom is always a generation away from extinction.
Thank you so much. Next up, we'll move to resignations under personnel.
We have one resignation of Lindsay Taylor from our food services.
Thank you. Next, for employment, I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ Tyler McKinney. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just want to note that we're no longer getting the resumes, so when we're approving this information, we're doing it based on board involvement.
Did you request that?
Yeah, actually, in August and July, we asked for approval for hiring people without, it was to make sure that we were informed that we knew. And we always used to get the resumes in our email in a confidential status, and we're no longer getting those.
Well, I know that we get the agenda and we have the opportunity to ask for them. I just would ask Jody if you can send them to us. Or, yeah, she has them here.
Is it all blacked out still?
They're redacted because the only personnel information that we're allowed to submit is the educational backgrounds of employees.
Thank you, Jody.
So,
From the general public, yes.
from anyone. You're not.
Did you want to review anything?
It's all black, I can show the audience, it's all blacked out. If it's all blacked out, I can't, it doesn't tell me anything.
Any other discussion?
I'll review it if it's,
Is he qualified bus driver?
Yes.
I assume so, but I'm just saying.
Any abstentions?
No.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ Mariah Cropley, Ed Tech, self-contained.
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions?
Because it's middle school.
Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, these co-curriculars are just an FYI, correct, Patty?
That is correct.
Under old business, I believe it was to excuse myself from the meeting last time, so I'll look for a motion on that.
Yeah, I'll move to excuse Stephanie and the student representatives, because the school hadn't started yet, so just to cover us, to also excuse them
I'll
from
second
last
it.
meeting.
Any discussion? All those, or any abstentions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, for the second reading of the policy, I move to approve the second reading to amend GCF. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend GCFB, recruiting and hiring of admin staff. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Sorry.
That's right.
Ready? Second. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to review GCFB, recruiting and hiring of admin staff administrative procedure. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to rescind KFD. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend GCSB. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
couple of thoughts I had about this. If staff had a separate, if they have a personal account and then they had a public social media account, I know some staff do that, but what I'm finding is happening is that or what I've been told, there are some staff who block certain parents, and then when they're posting information on school Facebook pages, parents aren't able to see that information because they're blocked by that particular teacher. And when a teacher is having a private personal account, and they're also posting and sharing school information, it now becomes using it as a school account. And so one solution I thought was worthy of discussion was part of your policy would be backed up by having separate accounts. That way they're not blocking parents, and they're not, if they're posting information, say on the elementary school page, that all parents can see it because it affects them. They might have their students in their class.
So what suggestion are you making to the policy?
Well, I think at first I'm asking for a discussion of whether it's with the superintendent or us as a board. Is that something that we should support? Is it something that we should include, that teachers have a personal account that they use as for their personal communication, and then a separate account when they're operating, commenting as a teacher, they're doing it through a teacher so-and-so or whatever that looks like. I don't know.
I guess I'm just asking, specific to the policy that we're reviewing, what are you suggesting to have changed?
I'm trying to have a discussion with open feedback about what I'm saying.
Which I understand, but this is specific to the policy, so I'm asking, I hear with what you're saying, but how does that relate to this policy that we're reviewing, and what do you want changed within it?
Because the policy is talking about basically making every teacher comment and say if they're speaking in a private capacity about something that's related to the school, that they're doing a disclaimer. And part of that would be solved by having an account that shows that they're operating as a teacher when they're speaking. So they're not always having to do that. It's kind of one and the same, but
Yeah,
I guess so. So
I'm
what you're
not following.
suggesting is that teachers should have a personal account and a teacher's account?
yes.
So you would have a Facebook page that would say Brian Benzino personal, and then Brian Benzino teacher.
I guess that would be the solution, because what's happening is when the teachers are posting things and information about their class and they're blocking multiple parents in the community, the parents aren't getting that information. And it affected them.
I thought all official communication wasn't being used unless it was the official school Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it works at the middle school or the high school. All posting comes from me. So if a teacher wants to make a post to the Facebook page, it comes from me, and I haven't blocked the parents. So no, I'm not really sure unless it's comments that you're talking about on posts that are made on the Facebook page. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure how it gets.
It's the same in the middle school. As of right now, the only person that hosts is me.
I can get you that information.
If teachers have their own account, the recommendation to the policy is if you are addressing school business, school situations, that you make it very, very clear that you're speaking as a citizen, not as a teacher, not representing the school department. So on their personal pages, we certainly would have no jurisdiction to do anything on their personal pages other than encourage them not to use it to conduct school business or to post school information for the very reasons that you're saying, for the very reasons. I personally, but it's just my opinion, would not want to see teachers all have a professional Facebook page because they'd be so limited in what they could post for for the reasons stated in the policy. So it's better if a teacher wants to post something from their professional perspective, that it go through the building principal or whoever is manning that page. But I certainly understand what you're saying, and I would hope that this policy would help people not to confuse their personal business with their school business.
I think too, it would also help when they're saying something of a personal opinion. It always comes back of, oh, that person is a teacher, you know, so I think it gives them separation of when they're acting in their private capacity, sharing their own opinions, it's just their own opinions. They're not saying it as a teacher per se.
I think the same thing could really be held true for us school committee members too, as we're posting in different groups that maybe everybody might not be part of, et cetera. So I hear you with what you're saying, but that would apply to committee members too, and that we wouldn't be commenting that stuff either, I guess.
I think what I'm hearing is all official communications that represent the school are coming from the school administrators, and that anything that comes from a teacher, it should have the disclaimer that we're putting in the policy, but the teacher shouldn't be considered an official communication because the official information comes from the administration.
Maybe it was a poster we shared. I'll have to go back and see, but
The only thing that I would change is under 5, where it says, like employees and board members, just have it maybe say committee members, just so that it's consistent. Just a little grammatical.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
I would just like to point out that the GC series, based off of recruiting and hiring, staff hiring, those were required reviews for the superintendent search, and that we're acknowledging that we've reviewed these policies as part of the superintendent process. And I think I brought that up at the last meeting, but just wanted to say that.
Oh, and so just one more grammatical under number 3, it says the board, just have to say the committee. Oh, so under number 3, employee personal use, so it would say the committee in the first paragraph, and then in the third paragraph down, in conduct that violates committee policy. So I just would ask that every place that it says board, that it please says committee. Oh, and then there's one other spot in section 3. So just any place where it says it, we can change it, and then it's good. Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading of JIE. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Yeah, it was brought up regarding father's rights on that. If we could review that and insert where it says mother to include mother and father. It sounds appropriate.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It might be answered by the admin, but is that something that is an accommodation that is currently being practiced if, say, a pregnant or a parent is having an appointment with is the father allowed to be excused as well for those appointments currently? I kind of looking at you because of the age range, but.
So we follow the state guidelines when it comes to excused, unexcused, et cetera. So if it's for a medical appointment, absolutely.
For their baby. So if a pregnant person and say that male students here, they're allowed to be excused to attend as well?
They have never asked, but yes, it would. Again, it falls under those state guidelines, so for us, it's pretty simple.
Any other discussion? Again, I just, the first part says the board, just have it say the committee, please, on all of them that we're updating. Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading of BCA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? That's the one that we moved. Any discussion?
Yep. As many times as I've read these policies and this policy, I thought it was interesting that it said, I will encourage citizens to follow the established and recognized chain of command in regards to complaints and will discuss such complaints only at regular school committee meetings after failure of administration solution. So one thing I want to say about that was I've noticed a lot of feedback about kind of, shaming is not the right word, but not encouraging people to come and to speak, or that they need to go through their complaints through the proper channels. And what this policy outlines is that when those channels have been tried and they're not being heard, they're showing up at our podium. So that's just one thing I wanted to make a point. A couple grammatical things. After N, the O needs to be moved down. And same with P.
What was that?
Right here, O and B just are,
Oh, yeah.
need to be moved down.
I did want to express the importance of G, though, because we did hear about that public comment, and it is important to follow the appropriate channel, and oftentimes the stuff that we are hearing at the podium is the first time we're hearing it. And I know as a parent, I've had concerns, and I don't get to just speak here, with what the concerns are. I really go down to the level of the teacher or the administrator that it is, and this is even before I was a committee member, and it gets solved. Because at the end of the day, when people speak at the podium, I'm then going to say, hey, Brian, help me out with this. What is this, right? And oftentimes I've done that, and it's the first time that he has heard of it. So it's not a shame to have people come, and it's not to say we don't want to hear. We absolutely want to hear. But it doesn't get solved by me. It gets solved by the teachers, the administrators, really. And again, that's what I've done numerous times as a parent, and even before I was a committee member, and that's most effective. Cool. And I've even had to follow the appropriate channel where it didn't get resolved at that level. Guess what? I didn't then get to jump up, ask Brian. I had to follow every step of the way, and I did that, and I just would expect others to also.
Well, it's clear that people that come often are saying the same thing. Sometimes you've said it's redundant month after month, and it's clear it's not getting fixed if you're still talking about it.
Well, you can get an answer, and if you don't like it, I guess you can keep on asking the same thing again, but questions are being answered. Or oftentimes there's statements that are made, and it's not really clear what the question is that we're trying to address. So I think it's very important that we do give the teachers the chance, because and having a conversation versus email I found was effective too in a recent situation that I've had to follow up on. So it's just, I do think it's important that we do follow those channels, and that's why that's there. That's not to say that we don't want to hear at all. It's just the most effective use of time is to start where the issue resolves.
What it's saying is when a parent contacts me with a specific question, as a committee member, our first comment to them is, have you addressed this with the teacher, have you addressed it with the coach, and have you encouraged them to use that process? And what I've found on several occasions is that they have not been addressed initially through whether it was a teacher or a coach. And there's also been times that, yes, I have addressed it with the teacher and or the coach, and it's gone to the AD, and then I've brought it up and, oh yeah, we're aware of this, and we're finally able to find a resolution. Those are the appropriate interactions. But when I speak to a member of the community and they have not at first brought it up with the people that know it best, they just bring it directly to me. We have to say, as our code of ethics, we're going to encourage those community members to work at the base level of who's the actual point to fix it. And that's the teacher, the coach, the school administrator, the building administrator. So that should be their first step. It's not to prevent them from coming up here and saying that they tried and it wasn't successful. I don't think I've seen a parent come up and say, I've tried to work this through the teacher, I've tried it through the school administrator, and now I've tried it through you guys. I don't think I can put my finger on any single circumstance if that has happened.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just, as far as S goes, I know this has gone back and forth, that I will not record school committee members or school employees without first informing them my intent to do so. And so what I thought was a good point is that Mrs. Durham was explaining, and the signs were going up throughout the school. There's more cameras in the buildings. I think it goes without saying we live in a digital age, and everyone should assume at all times they're being recorded. Calls, all that being the same. So I think it kind of goes without saying we're always being recorded. We should live a life that acts as though we're being recorded. And maybe it should say that I understand I am a public official and may be recorded at any time, therefore I will be, do, and say the same message regardless of my location, versus saying, if you're going to record me, you have to tell me. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Are you making a motion to try to amend it?
I am. I'll make a motion to amend to say, I understand that I'm a public official and may be recorded at any time. Therefore, I will be, do, and say the same message in any location.
Is there a second for that? Motion fails. Did you have any other?
I do. Just one more. I would like to make a motion to add T. The committee will refrain from disparaging remarks of community members.
Is there a second for that?
You won't refrain from making comments about community members?
Motion fails. Any other discussion? Any abstentions?
No.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, new business. I'd like to open the podium for the public to come for all that group that we have.
Greg Newell, Hermon. So I'd like to talk about the Maine School Board Association, and I'm wondering if you actually all read the resolutions. For example, 2A, 2K, gun-free schools. It says that they're going to use evidence-based public health interventions to reduce gun violence in schools and communities. I wonder if any of you actually read the government's health-based stuff, because what's asking you all to do is to say, hey parents, do you have guns at home? Are they locked up? Are they properly secured? Are you doing all the proper safety classes, etc., etc.? I'm sorry, but this school has no business in my house what I do with my stuff. And if you think that's okay, and you vote for that, good job. I think a lot of people are going to be very upset about that. Next one, 2A, 4E. I'd like to read one sentence off on it. Hopefully you all will abide by it. Open dialogue between school boards and constituents can ease conflict and promote educational objectives. Thought that was good. 2B, 4C, they crossed out equal but not identical and put in equitable. So I'm wondering how you all are planning to you're gonna now treat students in a way where they're not gonna get equal, but not providing equal education. Now it's going to be, oh, you're from a better background, so you're going to get less education. We're going to give more education to people that have a less good background. Just wondering how you all are going to work on that one. Also, artificial intelligence, AI in schools. If we had a long-term IT plan, we could probably work that in. I think it's a great thing, but this school department has no IT plan. I'm still waiting for the plan from March of 24 to be completed and presented as you committee members voted on to do. So thank you very much. I do have one question. Does this new business cover also reports, or that's going to be a separate public comment?
No, that's not a separate public comment.
Okay. So since I would ask these questions in subcommittee where I thought it would be more appropriate, since it's no longer allowed to have any public comments in subcommittees where I'm going to have to take up your time here. One of the things I thought was really interesting, I'm not sure if you all looked at it, on the last pages of the finance report, I did talk to, oh, I'm sorry, I can't mention that person's name. The person that deals with the money in the school, because we're not allowed to do title or name.
I'd ask you to wrap up your public comment, please.
Well, the superintendent said we're going to have plenty of time to be able to discuss this, because you took 15
I'd
minutes
ask
away
you to
from
wrap up your public
subcommittee.
comment, please.
I'm wondering why and how we spent an extra $2.2 million more in the month of June, but somehow only reduced the budget balance by $880,000. Your numbers don't make any sense, and I try to talk to the person that deals with this stuff, and it still didn't make any sense. 18-month technology plan, CIP plan. That was never brought up in the facilities meeting. The high school still needs a bigger cafeteria. The middle school still gets cold food. I also like to mention that out of all the sports in the entire district, cross country is still not able to have home meets because supposedly the track, which has nothing to do with cross country, because the track is getting a surface, cross country at middle school and high school cannot have home meets. These poor kids now have to travel another year because someone decided not to plan out a route through the woods. I think that's really sad because these kids were hoping to have a home meet and couldn't have it last year because of construction and now still can't have it. Way to be equitable to all the students.
Thank you so much, Mr. Knoll. Next, let's move on to, are there any other public comments? Next, let's move on to school committee goals. Did anyone have any suggestions that they wanted to bring forth for goals for us for this year?
I do. I have a draft that I put together. If you'd like me to share it with folks, if you don't mind passing them down. Do I have enough down that way? Do you have one?
Yeah, one more.
Do you have one? Yep. Yours and mine. Does everybody have one?
We'll share.
Here. I think they're
It was just literally a draft, what we were asking for. So, finance, these are in no particular order or no priority order. I just took last year's finance goal and readdressed it to complete the 26 finance budget process by the 1st of April and aligned to the town council's first reading of the budget presentation. And I'm aware that that doesn't actually align with its current town council's calendar, so that would need to be addressed. And no more than inflationary growth in the local share of funding in FY26 budget, and manage the unassigned fund balance to comply with Title 20A And that changes at the end of this year from a 9% unassigned fund balance to a 5% unassigned fund balance. So not necessarily looking for your comments right now, but if there's some immediate feedback you could give me, and if not, we can send them to the chair for email. The student, again, threw a draft together of a student achievement. We did put forward a student achievement last year, and it wasn't accepted. Establish a curriculum subcommittee by 13 January of 25, tasked to establish a process to review student outcomes and communicate academic performance to the community by, and the date of 7 April would have been the last quarter, their quarterly meetings of the proposed curriculum committee, so that we have a process in which we present student outcomes to the community.
Can I just ask a few things on that? Or you
Sure,
go through?
yeah.
I
We
guess,
haven't had a chance for committee meeting yet, so it's kind of hard for you to, but yeah.
I guess some of the thoughts, we have a curriculum coordinator now, and have you connected with her? Because I'm sure she's communicating through her reports. And I don't disagree that we need to be involved with that, but I also am just curious. These are some of the things that she's probably working on and has a plan for, and I know our admin, based on the reports, are being proactive at seeing the areas of improvement and working through that. So I don't know if Mrs. Bean has something to add to that, or she's focused on it at the moment, but.
I mean, it's something we can talk about.
Yeah,
We have the curriculum coordinate. We have the curriculum meeting tomorrow, so I think that would be a good opportunity for the curriculum to provide their input on that one. Yes.
On your finance committee, you guys probably want to keep in mind that there wasn't any money set aside for the maintenance for the track, and there's been a lot of discussion for it. So you're going to have turf replacement and maintenance, and there was money floated around, like maybe $100,000 a year or something set aside. You might want to have Patty talk to the town manager and figure out at what it should have a separate article in the warrant for the town to vote on at the end of the year warrant, or at least let them know that it's in the school budget, which would be, a big hit on your finance.
Yep. Another proposal was a technology update. Again, it's probably just after writing it and re-looking at it, it's really a tech specific, and it's probably not even appropriate for our level. But conduct an audit of the 24 technology modernization plan by 1 January 25 that focuses on modernization of network systems and addresses all issues identified in the September 2023 DNS audit report. And that's just a recycle of this year's and adjusted to time. So I would almost put that as a throwaway.
I agree, because I feel like that's already being done.
Yep. Goal 4, superintendent hiring process. Select a permanent superintendent by 6 January. Employ permanent superintendent no later than 1 July 2025. It's just to put a priority on what we're doing with hiring a superintendent. And then a facilities goal, complete a science labs design process by 3 March 25, and prepare and approve a science lab or labs RFP by 5 May 2025. And that's so that it would align with the 26 budget and be able to do any construction that we wanted to do. So that was the goal 5. And then at goal 6, I was actually speaking with Deb on this one. Committee training. Do we want to have a goal for us to have any sort of committee training to provide our own professional development so we can learn more about what we're supposed to be learning about and have it be in a formal or a somewhat organized manner? And it's a thought put down as a committee training goal rather than any detail put to it. So just something to get us going.
Yeah,
sure.
I think I would probably reference some of the Maine School Board management and the statutes of what our roles and responsibilities are, and when we're looking at our goals, we're making sure that we have some that are specifically following out. Whether it's touring the schools, communicating with parents, making sure that we're
our officials are.
But we don't communicate with parents. So what are you suggesting that we would add for a goal, or do you want
It's in
to?
the statute, right?
Well,
That committee members will communicate with teachers and tour the schools, and they will communicate with community members. It's in there.
so I'm asking what you would like that goal to be.
Whether it's providing workshops so that they have better chances to be heard and be involved in the process, collecting feedback. If you read through this handbook, it gives all sorts of opportunities for how school boards can work with the community and encourage involvement and collaboration.
Sure. So I'm asking, this is a great draft, I appreciate it, Brian. And I would ask anybody, like, so you have an idea, Haley, of a goal that you'd like, why don't you draft that up and send it around to the committee? I mean, we can't all reply back to it, but why don't you send that draft to me by the end of next week? So that would be the 20th. Okay. And any other goals that anybody wanted to have considered added or amended to this. I can certainly, Jody, we could certainly send this draft around to everybody so that they could have it. If we can get it to you.
I'll send you a cleaned up copy because there's some clerical errors on this as well. So.
Stephanie?
Yes.
If there are any other goals that any of us have, whether it's Mrs. Dern or us, if it would be possible to just kind of put them all together so that we can review them and then make goals next. So if Mrs. Dern, because she's been here before, she's here now. So if she has any goals that she can think of, and if we all did that and got them to you before the next meeting, then maybe we could just kind of, even if it's a couple of pages, we can kind of go through them and be able to pull some together. You know, a plan. So that we have a working document for the next meeting.
Yeah, because the goal would be next meeting that we would finalize them. So if we could get them by next Friday, so almost a little less than 2 weeks.
Do we submit them to the
Jody?
superintendent?
Yeah,
To Jody, and then she
could
could
submit them to you. Have it
Okay.
done. So for now, we won't take any action. Next, we'll do the first reading of policies. So I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend AC. Do I have a second?
Second.
Nope, go ahead. Haley's got it.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend ACAAR 1. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Unanimous. I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend ACAAR 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend ACAB. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend BEA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Second, drowning in your pile of policies here. I noticed this policy kind of is now, you morphed and took out the social media policy and stuck it in with this policy. A statement was made the other day at the policy meeting that, can't remember exactly, but something to the effect of communicating as a board through email. And all emails are forward worthy if they don't contain or redact confidential information. Most of us know that. Yes, you can't deliberate, but it doesn't mean that we can't email each other individually. What it basically is, you were just saying you can't do reply all. So the statement was saying something like, we need to be sending it to everybody. So that was kind of a tricky one because then it becomes, it could be considered deliberation. I know what it's like to have someone FOA my information and have my confidential information multiple times released to community members. So I agree that these should be fine-tooth combed and have been redacted. There are some concerns of, and I see not necessarily here, but emails that are being monitored, and just want to caution that as well.
So what would you want changed in the policy document?
Read my notes. And then as far as the school committee members shall have no authority, you're basically adding in a social media policy right here, is that right? What?
Which paragraph?
The last one after committee members shall avoid discussing information, right here, the first, it's not really listed. The start of the.
I thought that's standard language. School committee members shall have no authority to speak on behalf of the committee unless they have been designated by the committee to do so, or shall make it clear that they are speaking in their individual capacity when posting or engaging in other activities.
Which I think
any
that's.
social media by doing the following.
Mm-hmm. Social media. So we had a social media policy that this is what I tried to bring forward, and it kind of went away for a while, and now that language is being shoved into the email policy, correct? So should we just?
I guess I wouldn't use the word shoved. We've added some language. Are you suggesting to have some language removed? It's unclear to me what.
Either are we going to change the name and say school committee use of electronic emails / social media? Are we going to clarify what that is? Like, that's basically what this is outlining. You want a disclaimer when we comment or write anything on social media. Not you, well, I mean, it was a policy you brought forward originally, so I referenced you, but are you open to changing the name of the policy?
Is it the name you're looking to change, or it sounded like there was some other content that you want to change, but I wasn't sure where in policy that you wanted that. You had said something previous.
Well, I was talking about confidential information and emails originally, is that what you're saying?
No, there was something in between that you had said. I just wanted to know, for the discussion, what did you want changed within this policy?
This is talking about social media, and the top of the policy is talking about electronic use of email. We should change the name of the policy to include social media, or have it be separate.
I mean, I see what you're saying. It is redundant because it was just in another policy that we approved. So,
This is what the
yes.
name. The language, the new language, the previous policy was from 2006, which we know is kind of a long time ago now. And the new language is directly from MSBA and Drummond Woodson. And so it's nothing that anyone on the committee or I have decided to know. It comes directly from them. The only suggestion they made that is not printed here is that if we make any changes in this language, that we do take it back to them to make sure that we're covering all of the school committee so that an error is not made. So certainly if you are unhappy with the language and want to propose something different, we can do that. We would just have to have it reviewed.
Well, I guess the other thing I was going to say, the same as I was saying with the teachers, is I agree that it is ideal when an elected official has a separate account. So when they're commenting and they're doing it as an elected official, that they're operating in that capacity, but on their own. It helps clean things up and make it easier. So I don't know if that's something that the committee supports or thinks is a good idea. This is what.
Patty, are you saying that specific for the school committee use of electronic email that the MSMA is saying?
All of this language in red comes from that.
Okay.
And it's all in their email policy, because I know it's from their policy, but it was in their social media policy.
It was, I agree. It seems redundant, it appears in both places. Right.
So they've added it to that.
Can I speak? So they've changed in many other districts from it being school committee use of email to school committee use of email and other electronic communications.
Yeah.
They've added that language, and I've seen that in 4 different districts I've been looking at.
Thank you.
Could it simply be fixed by, on the title, removing mail and put communications?
Electronic communication.
Well, that's what it says, school committee use of electronic mail. Instead of mail, we say school committee use of electronic communications.
Yes, thank you.
So this is the first reading, so it could go back to the policy for the second, and come back to us for the second reading combined as one?
Sure. Or,
Just replace mail with
yeah,
communications.
yeah, or just do it amendment.
Okay. You guys have what you need, Patty, to be able to?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I need to make that a motion, or?
Yeah, go ahead, make it, move to make, yeah, go ahead to.
I move to change the title of policy BEA to school committee use of electronic communication.
I second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, do we want to also put in that to send it back to the lawyers real quick? Yeah, no,
I don't think we need to change, I don't think you need to have it sent back to them, just changing the title. It's
No,
the
it's policy.
content.
So would you then be getting rid of the social media one then? That we just did the second reading of, are we saying? And we're combining them? Or
Keep both of them.
keep both?
Because if you put electronic communications, it leaves it open to
Okay.
texting, whatever the new social
Okay.
media might be, it stays electronic communications.
Okay.
Because email is electronic, but texting is too.
Good. Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to
So do we
approve.
need, just for clarification, do we need to vote on the amendment, or was that?
That was for the amendment, and I retract my motion for the first, and then whoever had the second would need to retract as well. Was that you, Brian? Tom?
Tony, yeah. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So
We were-
Haley did the motion.
For the amendment.
Yep, I did the second, there were no abstentions, and it was a 6-0 vote.
So I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend IKAB.
second.
Any discussion?
Like?
Yeah, I was gonna say, happy to
I
see it. Good job.
Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. I make a motion to approve the first reading to amend KG.
Second?
Any discussion?
I think I have a question.
Yeah.
Forgive me for my ignorance here, but I'm trying to clarify when we're going to be renting out the building to someone other than something school related. It says for the community use, but it can't be commercial, personal, social. So I guess my question is, I'm thinking, what else would it be? So, like, if there was a theater club or something like that, I mean, Hermon's a small town, but I was just trying to clarify, like, so then who isn't it to exactly, like other schools?
We have rented it out before for dance recitals,
Oh, okay,
those kinds of events.
okay.
Not frequently.
Is that considered commercial?
No, when it's a non-profit. I can't argue with nonprofits when they give you a
No, I didn't.
certificate, let's say.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
The only other question I had was political fundraisers. I know the buildings have been used for that, and it's allowed to be rented for conducting official government business, but fundraising for political parties. I wasn't sure if that is.
Where are you seeing that? Or you're saying, is it in here?
I'm not seeing it in here. I'm not seeing the restriction, but I know it's been used for that in the past, and I know, or I thought I read somewhere that it's going to be used in the near future for that. I'm just not sure if that's really an appropriate use for government fundraising for candidates. It's not official business. That's almost personal campaigning.
So you're saying under the first paragraph to add what?
Not add, I guess I'm looking for clarification.
Well, I was thinking because it shall not be made available for, and you're saying, right, it doesn't say that you can't do it for political, and so are you suggesting to add something there?
I don't know if you legally can or cannot do it. I guess it's a legal question.
I believe my interpretation would be, and I'm always open to be wrong, I think as long as you offer the same to other people in the same request, then you're okay. But if you were to allow one candidate to rent an area but not another, that would be discriminatory, and we wouldn't do that.
Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Second, I just add too, I don't know if the form is in the policy or not, but that was updated to add the library and superintendent's office conference.
Thank you. For the building use form, yes, thank you. Use a separate handout. Okay. Next, MSBA resolutions.
Actually, I move to table the discussion and then vote on MSBA resolutions pending participation of our MSBA delegate in the region MSBA Zoom meetings. So there are a lot of MSBA resolutions that are listed here that we know very little about, and it was a learning lesson learned last year for me. This is really our school committee's ability to lobby for the impact on how laws within our state are written, and that we should be informed when we have our delegate vote at the Maine School Board Association delegate assembly on the 19th. And doing it in this manner, they have a Zoom meeting. Actually, our Zoom meeting was scheduled for tonight. We're not able to participate. So I think it would be best if we tabled these items until our delegate was able to attend Zoom and be able to help us through and provide some feedback on what all these items are.
I would encourage people to read through them and give feedback. I would say, I've attended some of these meetings last year, and personally found that they, much like many board operations, they kind of already have a preset plan of what they're going to do, and they weren't really open to feedback or changing anything. But I'm always open to hearing it, and I can carry it forward.
So I will second the tabling so that we have discussion. He made a motion.
Okay.
I need to second it, and then we can have the discussion.
Yeah, so I'm certainly open to hearing feedback and carrying that forward as a message for the board as a whole, in whatever position we may feel suits our community. But I can say, having gone through some of those processes, it's pretty preset.
So the next meeting was when, Brian? The 19th?
The assembly is via Zoom, and it's on the 19th, and it was a morning event. It took up about 3 hours, and I was the alternate last year.
Sorry.
And my experience was that those schools that had the person that was well informed became an influencer in the meeting. So I think it's in our best interest for all of us to be well informed so that we can vote appropriately on these resolutions and provide the needed information to the delegate, so that when our delegate is participating in that Zoom meeting, you have the information to do it. So that there is a Zoom meeting. Like I said, our region was doing it tonight, but there's several other Zoom meetings over the next month, so that if we could have some feedback for the October school committee meeting, and I don't know that date right off the top of my head, but it's prior to the 19th. I think it was like on the 7th or the 9th.
So, again, you were saying you want to have that communication as a board at that meeting?
Well,
the October meeting?
I can no longer get in on those Zooms because I'm not a delegate. So if the delegate...
Turned on the alternate.
No, I mean, if you could participate in one of the Zooms and then be able to lead us through the conversation, I think that would be greatly appreciated. And it would give us the information we need to answer and to vote appropriately on some of these. Because last year it was a all in favor and we voted on them as a block, and nobody said anything.
Would you be able to report back to us, Haley, for that October 7th? Okay. Any other discussion about tabling those?
So that would table C 1 through 15. 14.
Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Next up, stipend. So I make a motion to approve the stipend proposal for 24-25 as presented.
What that is we're fortunate to have so many middle school girls wanting to play soccer that we have more than a team and enough for 2 teams. And I believe last year you approved for a one-time stipend for a girls' B soccer team or a boys' B soccer team. I'd like you tonight to establish an equivalent stipend for the girls' B soccer team and have it ongoing, providing you have enough girls to play soccer.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second that.
Any discussion?
I assume the percentage you assigned to it was equivalent to light sports. So I didn't go and look at the actual contract.
It would be the same as middle school boys at this point.
Okay. Yep, equivalent.
The only thing I would add along the lines of stipend proposal, because it's in there as stipend proposal, I just would ask us to look in the future really closely at some of the high school numbers as far as golf and cheering. I know there's quite a few students that are leaving soccer and football and participating in golf. And so as those numbers increase, I want to make sure that we have enough opportunities. So just really being cautious of that number. I know it's hard to predict from year to year, but just looking at all of our sports for the stipends. But any other discussion? Any abstentions?
Is this just, it's for middle school, is that?
Yes.
All right, so really.
Abstain, okay. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Next up, administrative reports. Did you want to add anything, Penny?
I will tell you that I have signed a contract with Carpenter Associates for the drawings for the science labs, for the chemistry room renovation, for the earth science room renovation, and for the exhaust hoods ventilation replacement. So we signed an agreement with Carpenter Associates to do the drawings for those, and I think we're on our way to get those science labs up and running. The other thing, if I may, I would like to offer my apology if in fact my comments were misinterpreted to think that I was making disparaging remarks about any citizens. That certainly was not my intent. I did, some of you may not know, but in my report I mentioned, I wrote, that I've been spending more time doing follow-up responses and preparing for subcommittee meetings, which to me are something brand new. At this point, I'm still trying to learn who's on subcommittees, so what their needs might be. But if I offended anyone, I am certainly sorry. That was not my intent. I welcome input. I need to hear from you. And as far as the follow-up requests are, first time in over 17 years that I've been actively responding to those. It's a learning curve for me. We always like to learn, that's not a bad thing, but it does take a lot of time when I'd like to be in the classrooms and with students. But if I've offended someone, my sincere apologies, that is not my intent.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One, thank you for doing that, and I think that speaks highly of your character for just being brave enough to communicate directly to the community, so thank you for doing that.
Well, that is my intent.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I need this community.
yeah, well, I think you're doing a great job. I have one question or maybe concern, or I've noticed the bus and food service seems to have a lot of turnover. People come, they don't stay, and we have trouble recruiting. I wasn't sure. I'm sure you're probably working on it, or maybe they are they looking at identifying why that is? Finding solutions to see how we can retain those staff in those positions, because I can't imagine trying to feed 1,300 students and staff and not having, I can't imagine the hours they're putting in, or let alone the buses. I mean, my heart goes out to those bus drivers. The buses, that's a tough job, and it seems like we're having a hard time, and custodians actually, we're not.
We're starting to get some applications.
Okay, so I don't know, is there proactively sharing in other places and how we can improve that? Because I want nothing worse than morale than being short-staffed. So if we don't know why they're leaving, we can't fix it. If there's a problem, I'm not saying that there is at all. It's a tough job. So, and then as far as agenda goes, I saw your comments in there. I guess I would encourage that it's not necessarily that it can be a collaborative effort, and an agenda for some of us doesn't take quite as long, or knowing what it is the community, the committee members that are on them want to talk about. I personally haven't had any input on agendas, so.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Where are you reading that?
Additionally, I believe I'm spending more time than necessary preparing agendas for subcommittee meetings. So I'm just saying that can be a collaborative effort, and those of us that are sitting on those committees could shoot over some ideas and help lessen for load.
As always, that's been welcomed.
Yeah. And then did you want to go over your additional email here, or from make some feedback?
No, it was just so that you had the same information that I had. I had asked some questions, and I wanted to share the information that I received.
Anything else on administrative reports?
Yes. Sometimes I have to read their notes.
Great, that's why I asked.
I was curious as the IT why we're not doing a penetration test where we had a vulnerability before, and that's been an issue in the past, and just making sure. I was curious why we weren't doing a pen test.
Maybe defer to Mr. Bridges.
The primary reason for it is the cost associated. That's not something in this year's fiscal budget. It's certainly something I can look into, but it is substantially more expensive than just a security audit. So it's something I can look into. It's just not in this year's budget.
Thank you. And then I noticed on the financial report with the audit, I have some real concerns with the audit not being done, that we're past multiple deadlines, including the June 30th deadline, and I'm worried about state funding. That was an issue last year. The response was, the audit is essentially completed, however, he's waiting for legal letter responses from both town and school attorneys, and I'm like, legal letter responses for what?
Lawyers have to submit a letter indicating whether or not they anticipate there are any lawsuits or anything pending that would be affecting that audit.
Okay.
the appropriate extensions have been filed with DOE on the audit, so that they're aware of the delay. So that there's a current extension out through the end of this month. I believe it's the end of this month.
Okay, I think I think roughly 30 days-ish.
It depends. At the beginning, they give you 2 or 3 months at a time. Then when you get further out, they close the window. So we did have one through August 31st, and I have been reaching out to Mr. Hall periodically to try and get it wrapped up. Mrs. Stern and I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, and that was what he was waiting for. So we did file for an additional extension, and the state approved it without issue through the end of this month. Mr. Hall thinks that we'll have those letters back, and everything will be signed and turned over relatively soon.
So the funding is coming in, they're providing funding for.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions on the finance report? Committee reports? Any updates from any of the subcommittees?
Stephanie, I had one thing.
Yeah.
We talked about the parking area at the elementary school, and I suggested looking into maybe doing a carriage path like we did around the wing, as some of our parking areas are so bad over there and we can't take up more green space. And we ought to maybe vote on it to give Patty permission to check with Randy Bragg at Carpenter Associates and see if that's something we can do. If you know, the school committee wants to and the town wants to spend the money.
Let's add that as a possible future agenda item, but Patty, is that something that you could look into if we did add it to the agenda to talk about next time?
There's people parking on the grass and sinking, 5-6 inches down with their vehicles to watch a concert is getting to be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Anything on the subcommittee reports? Brian, did you have anything?
No, I mean, finance was covered, the major issues that we talked about, finance. So, anything additional we need to bring up there? Policy was good.
Work in progress.
And Tony just brought up the main facility issues was based off in the elementary school's parking lot. So,
Anything else for subcommittees?
I just think Alex is doing, Ms. Rose is doing a good job, and I am pleased to see so much progress with the IT department. I thought it was a good committee meeting and a great update, so I appreciate that. Head the right direction.
All right, possible future agenda items, Brian?
no, I don't have any at this time.
Haley?
Subcommittee policy.
Tony?
All set.
Yeah.
All set. Thank you.
David?
All set.
I make a motion to approve that, we'll do FY24 separate, so there's a motion to approve the FY24 7 warrants as listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tony, second. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor?
We're abstaining.
Oh, you are abstaining?
We
Yes.
are abstaining because it's budget.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the FY25 8 warrants as listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to MRSA 4056A to discuss a personnel matter at 7:55 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Yeah. Do you know whether tomorrow you central office?
I know.
That's what I put in my book, but I have no idea. Hey, Melissa Davis?
Wait.
Tomorrow, were you at the super's office?
How are you doing this evening?
That's what I put on my calendar, but it's my calendar,
Yeah, I'll turn
not
this
her
first.
calendar, so I was like, I wasn't gonna turn.
Oh, well, that's so nice of you.
9 o'clock.
And so
I might have one card.
Now, where is Silver?
No.
I'm supposed to be driving, and I drove.
My inspection today, they told me I had to replace the struts in my car.
9:40.
Mine was 1100.
I blew the catalytic converter out to the exhaust fan.
No.
It goes right down.
Oh.
Evidently, that's not legal. And you can't straight pipe anything because it's California emissions, so. Yep, time to remove something. We'll go, so I'm not rushing by.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, yeah, so
I
you
was,
know,
I was, but then that's.
and I have reviews on.
Have a good night. I'm going the other way, going the long way, I'm the other way.
Well, I was told that specifically by Mrs. Graham that there'll be plenty of opportunity to have public comment during this entire meeting. Yeah, so now I'm going to tell you.
Yes, well, I'll be a little late.
It's only on the I would put 15 minutes of time at such a meeting where I think it would be more appropriate for me to discuss it to 3 minutes. Yeah.
3 minutes. 3 minutes 50.
Yes.
Okay, what do you say? Yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta go to bed.
Are you going to stay up until 9?
Because I'm going to be at home on the far side of home. We stayed up until 9:30
Oh my goodness.
last night.
I won't tell you that.
I'll tell you what,
I'll sleep until like 1:30 in the morning.
That was it. You stay up until 1 minute. How do you do that?
I just don't.
I'm a lot older than you.
Return from executive session at 7:59 p.m. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:59 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
There's a sign that says, "I'm not dead, I'm lazy." I read that sign afterwards, I'm like, there's a sign here. You got to part of the car. Oh, but then it's way up the top. You're going to come up. No, we'll figure out, I didn't know if I should know.
Yes, but Haley and I have to resign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.